Renting versus buying a home in Sparwood, BC, buyers beware. Is renting in Sparwood throwing money away, or is buying a home here more complicated than people make it sound? You've probably heard both sides. Buy as soon as you can. Don't waste money on rent. Real estate always goes up. But in a town like Sparwood, where the economy, employment, and housing demand moves in cycles, the right answer isn't automatic. It actually depends. Today we're going to break this down clearly. No hype, no fear, just math, market context, and strategy. Buyers beware, because this decision matters more than most people actually realize. If we haven't met, my name is Craig Bell, and I've been working in the Elk Valley real estate market for over 2 decades. I've been in Fernie since the 80s and coached most kids in this valley. You probably recognize me and I probably recognize you, but we both probably forget each other's names. I've been helping buyers and sellers navigate everything from mining expansions to slower commodity cycles. And one thing I've learned is this: in Sparwood, timing and timeline matter more than ideology. So before you renew your lease or before you commit to a mortgage, let's walk through what renting versus buying really looks like here in Sparwood. So the real question isn't, is renting bad? The real question is, given today's prices, interest rates, and local economy, which option puts you in the stronger position over the next 5 to 10 years? Because that's the time frame that really counts in a town like Sparwood. So let's start with where the market actually sits right now. In Sparwood right now, detached homes typically range between 350, 500, and a little higher up, and you get into the 700s and possibly even the 8s. Depending on the condition, the updates, and the location. Entry-level properties can be lower. Renovated or newer homes climb quickly toward the upper end of that range. Rental rates: a 3-bedroom home generally rents between $2,500 and $3,500 a month, depending on the condition. Smaller properties can be less, but rental inventory is limited. Now let's look at ownership costs. If you purchase a home for $600,000 with 20% down, that's 600 times 20%, that's $120,000 down payment upfront. Your mortgage would be approximately $480,000. At around 5.5% interest, you're looking at roughly $3,000 a month in mortgage payments. Add in your property taxes, your insurance, your maintenance, utilities, you're realistically looking in the $3,800 to $4,200 monthly range. That difference between renting and owning is meaningful, and that's where the decision starts. So what makes Sparwood unique? Well, Sparwood is not a generic housing market. It's tied closely to the resource sector. When coal production is strong and employment is stable, housing demand is also strong. And when global commodity markets shift, local confidence can shift too. That doesn't mean instability, it means cycles. And when you buy in a cyclical market, your timeline becomes critical. If you plan to stay long term, cycles tend to smooth themselves out. And if you plan to stay short term, cycles definitely can matter a lot. So here's some pros of renting in Sparwood. Flexibility, first of all. If you're unsure how long you're going to stay in the Elk Valley, renting protects you. Job transfers, career changes, lifestyle shifts. Renting makes mobility much easier. You've got lower upfront costs. A security deposit versus a 6-figure down payment is a major difference. That down payment is capital you no longer control. Reduced risk exposure. If the housing prices soften temporarily, renters aren't actually affected directly. Owners are. And in shorter timelines, that actually does matter. So your cons of renting. It's got some trade-offs. You are not building any equity. You are not locking in housing costs. You are subject to lease renewals, potential rent increases, landlord decisions, and long-term ownership has historically rewarded people who hold property through cycles in Sparwood over 10 to 15 years. Real estate here has generally trended upwards. alongside economic stability. So renting protects your flexibility. Owning builds your leverage. Different tools, different goals. So pros of buying in Sparwood. Now let's talk about ownership. Stability. When you own, you control your housing situation. There's no expiring lease. There's no unexpected relocations. Equity, you're going to build some equity through amortization, and every payment reduces your principal. Even in flat markets, you are gradually increasing your ownership stake, slowly but surely paying off the principal. Entry price compared to Fernie, Sparwood's pricing is significantly lower than Fernie is. Half price almost. Sometimes even more so. For some buyers, this is the only way to enter the Elk Valley ownership market, and that matters. Cons of buying. You need to pay attention to this. Buying is not without responsibility. You've got upfront costs, down payments, legal fees, property transfer tax, inspection costs. The transaction alone requires preparation. You've got maintenance responsibilities now. Sparwood sees heavy snowfall and seasonal temperature swings. Roofs, furnaces, foundations, they all require attention, and if you don't have reserves, ownership can become stressful. Short-term risk. If you need to sell within 2 to 3 years, you could face transaction costs, market fluctuations, limited appreciation. Ownership will reward you over time, but without time, the math will definitely change. So what people often miss, and this is what I quite often see, is people will assume that renting is automatically wasting money. Well, it isn't. Renting is the cost of flexibility. Others assume buying guarantees wealth. It doesn't. Buying requires time, financial cushion, and stability. The mistake isn't renting. The mistake isn't buying. The mistake is choosing the wrong one for your timeline. So who should consider renting? Renting may make sense if you plan to stay less than 3 to 5 years, your employment situation isn't fully stable, you want to preserve liquidity, you're still building savings. That is not a failure, and that's just plain old strategic. So who should consider buying? Well, let's talk about this. Buying may make sense if you're planning long-term routes in Sparwood. Your income is stable, you have reserves beyond your down payment, and you're comfortable riding through the market cycles. Ownership in Sparwood rewards long-term thinking. So looking ahead, several factors will shape the market. Employment stability in the Elk Valley. Interest rates, movements, inventory levels, buyer confidence. If employment remains strong and rates ease gradually, demand should remain supported. If we see economic slowdown, markets may move more slowly. Neither scenario automatically favors renting or buying, but each scenario favors preparation. So is renting throwing money away? No, not necessarily. Is buying always a smarter move? No, not automatically. In Sparwood, the right decision depends on your timeline, your finances, and your risk tolerance. If you're weighing this decision and want clarity based on your numbers, not general advice, watch the other videos that I've got posted here on Sparwood. Buyers beware. You need to make informed decisions. Give me a shout, and I'll see you on the next one.